So it's been a while since my last video, but I really thought that I needed to make a video to warn Canadian tourists about the consequences of going to Cuba. And I'm really wanting to know where your money goes. And the sad thing is, right now, Cuba is going through a severe food shortage, which means people can't feed their families. The rations they're selling rotten hamburger meat, which isn't even hamburger meat anymore. It's ground up intestines of animals. Um, uh, the bread has bugs in it. The milk that they're rationing to kids is dirty. But yet, when you book this 5-star resort in Veradero or anywhere else, you're provided with a buffet of items that is not accessible to the Cuban people. And people might try to convince you that Fidel was this hero. But when the truth is, when he came to power, he promised to change things and take care of the people. Meanwhile, today, the Castro Canel government is doing exactly the opposite of what they had promised the people. And houses are collapsing on tops of people. And recently, a balcony collapsed and killed 3 little girls that happen to be the friends of my son. And the thing is they're showing you a part of Cuba that's so beautiful, but if you walk a block past your hotels or a block in the other direction of Calle Obispo, you're going to see the real Cuba that they really don't want you to see. And that is poverty. You have these buildings, when you go right into the neighborhoods, it looks similar to what a country who's just gone through a war looks like. And the sad thing is that your family and your kids are getting to enjoy this buffet. Your kids are getting fed food that's being taken away from the Cuban people. And I don't know, for me, it just isn't right that we're going there and we're afforded all these opportunities are not afforded to the Cuban people. And also right now there's a lot of political prisoners, rappers who sung in the video Patria Vida, which is patriotism or life, are a few are under house arrest and one has been jailed since last month, all because they're fighting for freedom of speech. Now, for me personally, Canada has always kind of been a pillar for human rights, and we want freedom of speech in our own country, but tend not to care when it doesn't affect us, and that can't be the case. So when you spend that money on your vacation, that money is going to the pockets of the regime, and that money ends there. It doesn't go into the economy for the people. It's used to further oppress the people. People are disappearing. People have shown up dead. So it's almost like we have blood on our hands when we know what that money is going towards. And also another thing is this, that apparently, from what I've heard from coming from reputable sources outside of or in Cuba, is that these tourists, when they're going to the results, there's no mask requirement. Now, there's a lot of Russian tourists that are coming in, and this isn't being spread as much, but only 20% of Russia is vaccinated. And Cuba has a really poor test when it comes to entering Cuba. And on top of that, people in Cuba, tourists, if they need a vaccine, they're offered the higher end vaccine. However, for the Cuban people, they're really offered a poor option for a vaccine because it's such a low quality vaccine that people are afraid to get it. Because if you have lung problems such as asthma, high blood pressure, any kind of other health issues, well, you can't get the shot. So that pretty much leaves a huge population out. And on top of that, Cubans were forced to quarantine in their house without help from the government, so they were forced to stay inside. They couldn't go to a job, they had no access to money, and yet the government wasn't offering any help. And they're throwing out from farms thousands of pounds of fruit and vegetables per day that could be sent to the people to be distributed amongst them. So I would really just ask you that before you think about the sandy beaches, think about what, or a fraction of what's happening, of what I told you, and please use your judgment to make a good decision, to not put your money into a regime that is oppressing its people. Please.